The conversation around the Philadelphia Eagles has taken a dramatic turn in recent days, and at the center of it all is one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the entire National Football League. As the league inches closer to the beginning of free agency, a wave of speculation has started to build regarding the future of A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. It is the kind of topic that instantly captures the attention of fans across the league, not just those who follow the Eagles closely. Whenever a player of Brown's caliber becomes the subject of trade discussions, the entire football world begins to listen carefully. What makes this situation even more intriguing is that the Eagles are not a team in rebuilding mode. This is still a franchise that believes it can compete for championships, and that reality changes the tone of any potential roster move. Moving a player like A.J. Brown would not be a small decision or a routine transaction. It would be a move that could reshape the identity of the offense and send shockwaves throughout the league. That is exactly why so many conversations around the league have been centered on this topic as executives, scouts, and agents gather during one of the busiest periods on the football calendar. During the league's annual scouting combine, discussions rarely stay limited to evaluating prospects. While fans often focus on the drills and athletic testing that take place on the field, the true action happens behind the scenes. Front offices from across the league gather in the same place, and that environment becomes a hub for negotiations, strategy sessions, and conversations about potential trades that could shape the future of multiple franchises. When nearly every general manager, coach, scout, and agent is in the same city at the same time, it naturally creates opportunities for serious football discussions. In that environment, the subject of A.J. Brown inevitably surfaced again and again. Teams across the league are always looking for elite playmakers, and Brown has already established himself as one of the most dangerous wide receivers in professional football. His combination of strength, route running, and ability after the catch has made him a nightmare for opposing defenses. Because of that reputation, it should come as no surprise that other organizations have at least explored the possibility of what it would take to acquire him. One of the biggest developments to come out of those behind-the-scenes conversations involves the potential price tag the Eagles would demand if they were to even consider moving their star receiver. The reported expectation is massive, reflecting both Brown's talent and his importance to the offense. Philadelphia would not entertain low offers or quick negotiations. Instead, the organization would only consider a package that includes extremely valuable draft capital and potentially additional assets that could help strengthen the roster for the long term. That approach reflects the philosophy of the Eagles' front office. The organization has never been afraid to listen to offers or explore opportunities, but it has also made it clear that any move must benefit the team in a meaningful way. When you are dealing with a player who has produced multiple dominant seasons and earned recognition among the elite at his position, the starting point for negotiations is always going to be extremely high. That reality alone makes any potential deal complicated. Financial considerations also play a significant role in the entire situation. Modern National Football League rosters are carefully built around salary cap management, and every major contract impacts the flexibility a team has in the future. Brown's contract extension, which was secured not long ago, carries financial implications that the Eagles must account for if a trade were to take place. The timing of any potential move could dramatically influence how the financial burden is distributed across future seasons. If the Eagles were to move forward with a trade before certain offseason deadlines, the organization would be forced to absorb a very large amount of dead money against the salary cap. That type of financial hit is never easy for any team to manage, particularly for a roster that already carries significant investment on the offensive side of the ball. The Eagles have built an offense filled with high-level talent, and maintaining that level of firepower requires careful financial planning. At the same time, some executives around the league believe there could be a long-term advantage hidden within a difficult short-term decision. By absorbing the financial impact now, the team could eventually free up future flexibility that might help them retain other young stars who are quickly becoming foundational pieces of the franchise. Defensive talents such as Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter represent the next wave of potential long-term investments for the organization, and managing the salary structure for the coming years will be critical. Even with those financial factors in play, there is still an important point that many people inside the organization continue to emphasize. There is no overwhelming desire within the building to move A.J. Brown. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. Those who work closely with the team consistently highlight how respected Brown is among teammates, coaches, and members of the front office. His work ethic, intensity, and commitment to winning have helped him earn admiration within the locker room. The perception from the outside world can sometimes paint a very different picture. Social media discussions and national debates often simplify complicated situations, creating narratives that do not always reflect the reality inside a professional locker room. For Brown, that difference in perception has become particularly noticeable. While outside conversations sometimes focus on speculation or potential tension, many inside the Eagles organization continue to describe him as a leader and a dedicated competitor. Stories from within the locker room illustrate that reputation clearly. Teammates frequently point to Brown's preparation and the standard he sets during practices and meetings. Coaches appreciate the level of detail he brings to his craft, from studying defensive tendencies to refining his route techniques. Those habits are often what separate great players from elite ones, and they have helped Brown maintain his status among the most feared receivers in the league. Because of that respect within the building, any decision regarding his future would require extremely careful evaluation. Moving on from a player with that level of influence is never just about numbers on a contract or assets in a trade package. It also involves understanding how the locker room might react and how the offense would function without one of its most explosive weapons. At the same time, the Eagles remain a franchise that constantly evaluates ways to improve. The leadership group believes in remaining aggressive, exploring opportunities, and ensuring that the roster stays competitive not just for the present season, but for many years ahead. That mindset means that every possibility must at least be examined, even if the final decision ultimately leads to keeping the current core intact. If the Eagles ever reached the point where they seriously considered moving A.J. Brown, the next question would immediately become obvious. How would Philadelphia replace that level of production on offense? Brown is not just another receiver in the rotation. He has been one of the most dominant physical wide receivers in football, a player capable of taking over games with explosive plays and punishing yards after the catch. Losing that type of presence would force the organization to explore multiple avenues to rebuild the receiving group. One path that immediately comes to mind is the upcoming draft. Many talent evaluators around the league believe this class of wide receivers is deep and full of intriguing prospects with different skill sets. For a front office that prides itself on identifying value and building through the draft, that could present an opportunity to add young talent with long-term upside. Some receivers entering the league bring elite speed that stretches the field vertically, while others offer size and physicality that allow them to dominate contested catches along the sideline. The variety of styles in this class gives teams flexibility depending on what type of offensive identity they want to create. Philadelphia has traditionally valued receivers who can operate in multiple areas of the field. Versatility is a trait the coaching staff appreciates, especially in an offense that frequently moves players around to create mismatches. Some of the top prospects expected to be available beyond the early portion of the draft possess exactly that type of versatility. They can line up on the outside, slide into the slot when necessary, and contribute immediately as route runners who create separation. For a team attempting to replace the departure of a major playmaker, having multiple skill sets available could become essential. However, relying solely on the draft carries its own risks. Rookie receivers often need time to adjust to the speed and complexity of the professional game. Even the most talented prospects sometimes require a full season before they become consistent producers. That timeline could complicate things for a team that still believes it is firmly within its championship window. The Eagles are not a rebuilding organization searching for long-term answers several years down the road. They are a team that expects to compete right now. Because of that reality, the possibility of acquiring a receiver through a trade could also enter the conversation. Around the league, there are always players whose situations with their current teams become uncertain. Sometimes it involves contract negotiations. Other times it involves changes in coaching staffs or offensive schemes. When those circumstances arise, talented receivers can suddenly become available if another team is willing to make the right offer. Several names around the league have already been mentioned in speculative discussions. Some are young receivers who flashed incredible potential but have not yet fully broken out in their current systems. Others are more established veterans who could bring experience and reliability to a contender looking for immediate production. For Philadelphia, the challenge would be identifying someone who not only has talent but also fits the personality and culture of the locker room. Chemistry within the offense is another factor that cannot be ignored. The connection between a quarterback and his top receivers often takes time to develop. Timing routes, trust in contested situations, and an understanding of how each player reacts to defensive coverage are all elements that grow stronger through repetition. If a new receiver were brought into the system, that relationship would need to develop quickly in order for the offense to maintain its rhythm. There is also the possibility of exploring the free agent market. While the number of elite wide receivers available in free agency is usually limited, there are often intriguing options capable of stretching the field or providing complementary production. Some players excel as deep threats who force defenses to respect the vertical passing game. Others thrive in intermediate routes where precise timing and strong hands become critical. Even a single addition with the right skill set could help balance the offense if the Eagles were forced to adjust their receiving core. What makes the entire situation fascinating is the uncertainty surrounding how likely any of these scenarios truly are. Inside the organization, many people still view A.J. Brown as a central piece of the offensive identity. His ability to dominate physically against defensive backs changes how opponents design their coverage schemes. Safeties often shade in his direction. Corners must prepare for constant battles at the line of scrimmage, and that attention can open opportunities for other playmakers within the offense. At the same time, conversations around the league continue because that is simply the nature of professional football during the offseason. General managers evaluate every possible scenario. Agents explore opportunities for their clients, and teams constantly gather information in case circumstances change. Even if no trade ultimately materializes, the discussions themselves can shape how organizations approach roster decisions and financial planning. For Eagles fans, the emotional connection to Brown is also part of the equation. Since arriving in Philadelphia, he has delivered unforgettable performances and established himself as one of the most exciting players to watch on Sundays. His competitive fire and visible passion for the game have resonated strongly with a fan base that values toughness and intensity. Those qualities are deeply woven into the culture of football in Philadelphia. That is why the debate surrounding his future continues to generate so much attention. Some supporters believe the team should never consider moving a talent like Brown while the championship window remains open. Others view the possibility of receiving multiple high-value draft selections as an opportunity to strengthen the roster in several areas at once. Both perspectives highlight the complexity of the decision facing the front office. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Whispers are growing louder around the Philadelphia Eagles, and they point toward a possible shakeup on the coaching staff that could redefine the team's immediate future. League insiders suggest that the franchise is seriously evaluating a change at the coordinator level, not because of a single failure, but due to a combination of urgency, philosophy, and money. The speculation centers on the idea that the Eagles want to inject more speed and flexibility into their system. There is a belief circulating within league circles that the current setup, while functional, may no longer align with how quickly the roster is evolving. Younger, more versatile players are demanding schemes that emphasize rapid decision-making, constant motion, and adaptability. The sense is that the front office sees an opportunity to modernize without tearing everything down. Another element fueling the rumor is financial. Coaching salaries do not count against the player cap, but they still matter to ownership, especially when balancing long-term investments. Sources close to the situation suggest that a potential replacement could come at a significantly lower cost, freeing resources while also delivering a more aggressive and contemporary approach. That mix of agility and savings is described by some as too tempting to ignore. What makes the situation especially volatile is timing. The Eagles are widely viewed as a team in win-now mode, and patience for gradual transitions may be thin. Internally, there is said to be debate over whether continuity is safer than disruption, but the louder voices appear to be advocating for boldness. A faster system, they argue, could maximize the current core before difficult contract decisions arise. For now, nothing is official, and the organization remains publicly silent. Still, the rumor mill keeps turning, and the message is clear. Stability is no longer guaranteed. In Philadelphia, the margin between trust and change is razor thin, and one explosive decision could soon reshape the sideline dynamics of one of the league's most closely watched teams. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.